Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. Hello everyone, Kwangti here. In this week's video, I'm going to be talking about meditation. I know it's supposed to start with the Four Noble Truths, but I have gotten a few requests and questions about meditation, specifically Buddhist meditation, so I'm going to start with that. So a little bit about what meditation is not. If you've read, and hopefully you did, if you've read my first book, Making Friends with Our Mind, A Basic Guide to Buddhist Meditation, the very first sentence in my book says, contrary to popular belief, meditation is not sitting cross-legged with your finger and thumb on your lap chanting Om continuously. That is not meditation. I mean, that is meditation. It could be a form of meditation, but it's not your typical Buddhist meditation. So there's been some discussion, there's lots of discussion about meditation, what meditation is and isn't. And in this case, I'm going to be specifically speaking about Buddhist meditation. So I've gotten a question on Tumblr about, someone asked what the difference between Buddhist meditation and non-Buddhist meditation was. Well, your traditional non-Buddhist meditation, especially in the West, is the TM meditation, transcendental meditation. And it's been this huge movement for the past like 50 years or something, and it's fairly popular, especially in the West. It kind of began with Maharishi Yogi, I think his name was. And the whole concept of transcendental meditation is kind of meditating on a mantra. They give you like this personalized mantra, and you basically just meditate on that for like 20 minutes a day or something. And so in the West, meditation is really this form of this therapeutic practice, to relieve anxiety and stress and mental disorders and whatnot. And in Buddhism, meditation is not therapeutic. It is a discipline. It is meant to help you with very specific needs. And of course, helping with anxiety and stress and disorders and whatnot could be a byproduct of Buddhist meditation, and it definitely will help with that. But that is not the point of Buddhist meditation. The point of Buddhist meditation is, there's many reasons, but the main reason, let me backtrack. There's two main forms of Buddhist meditation. And the first one is concentration, and the second is contemplation, which is samatha and vipassana, if I remember that correctly. I should remember that correctly. So concentration and contemplation are really the biggest points of Buddhist meditation. And it's really important to kind of master one before the other. So usually we start with concentration. And we really have to know how to concentrate and be able to concentrate long enough in order for us to actually contemplate on something. Because if we have weak concentration and we try to contemplate on something, we're going to be constantly bombarded with external thoughts and feelings and whatnot. So our whole meditation is pointless because we're not able to concentrate long enough on what we're contemplating on. So it's really important to kind of practice and master concentration. And the best way to do that is meditating on our breath. So the easiest way to do that is simply counting our breath. So for every in and out breath, we count as one. So one, out, one, in, out, one, in, two, out, two, in, three, out, three, etc., up until you get to 10. And then from 10, you want to repeat again. And if we ever get lost or distracted, or we just kind of, forgot where we're at, we always want to start back at 1. And so the point is just counting from 1 to 10 as long as we can, for as much as we can, without any distractions, without breaking our concentration. And I know it kind of sounds mundane and kind of boring, and it might get boring after a while, but it's actually a very important practice, and it's a very effective practice. And of course, we don't really have to count on our breath. That's just the traditional popular way of developing our concentration. And other forms of concentration, we can always, use a stare at a statue or an image of the Buddha, Bodhisattva, or anything else. Any object, a candle flame, a statue, a book, a rock, whatever it may be, just having a focus and a meditation object for you to concentrate on, and you just stare at it. And of course, when we meditate, we don't want to keep our eyes completely open. We don't want to keep them completely closed. We want to keep them semi-open, just so we have enough room to see our object of meditation, but not wide enough where we get distracted by surrounding objects or people or whatever. And so, and a very important practice when we were meditating is to not allow distracting sounds or thoughts or noises or feelings or tastes, whatever, to distract us, because especially if we're not in a very quiet place, we may hear, cars going by, dogs barking, the phone ringing, whatever it may be. And these are okay to have, and they're okay to be there, but it's important not to engage with them. So when we're meditating and we're counting our breath, or we're concentrating something, whatever it may be, and we hear a dog bark, we don't want to be like, oh, I wonder whose dog is that? Is that my dog? Are they a big dog? Are they a small dog? Are they the neighbor's dog? Is someone walking the dog? Those are not the thoughts we want to have. We want to simply acknowledge that the bark happened and just move on. Thoughts are exactly like clouds. They pass by, and it's simple as that. We just have to let that thought go. So if it's a phone ringing, we don't want to kind of wonder who's calling or who's texting or whose phone it is. We simply want to acknowledge that the phone rang or buzzed, whatever, and just move on from that thought. And that's just how we kind of start not controlling, but kind of reworking our minds and how it works, because we are curious animals. We are curious of every little sound we hear and every little thing we see. So the more we kind of work with ourselves and let our minds know, hey, I know you're trying to distract me by wanting to wonder what that noise is, but I'm not going to let you do that. So you simply just want to acknowledge it and let it go. And the more we practice that mindfulness, the easier it'll be for thoughts to not distract us. So that's really the way we develop our concentration. And then once we have a strong or a semi-strong concentration and are able to concentrate on something for a longer period of time, when I say longer period of time, it really depends on the person. 10 seconds may seem short, but to a beginner, 10 seconds is like the biggest miracle ever, to concentrate on something without any distractions. And so as we progress with meditation and as we continue our practice, it's a lifelong practice. There's no end point, there's no finish line in meditation. There's no such thing as a completion of meditation. There's no stopping point. So it's a continual, lifelong practice. So even for me, I've been practicing meditation for over 15, 16 years, and I still get distracted. So it's not something that just, completely stops on its own. Of course, my thoughts are way less than what they were 10 years ago, but there's still some distractions. But at least I'm able to meditate for long periods of time without having to worry about those distractions. So when we do get that point, then we can finally work on some contemplation. Contemplation it's a very needed and necessary part of practicing Buddhism. I know from externally, people may see Buddhism as just meditation, but it's just one part of meditation. But that one part is extremely important because it's our contemplation. It's the wisdom we come upon from contemplation in our meditation that really helps us move forward and attain these realizations and kind of advance in our practice. So when we contemplate, it's basically taking an idea or a teaching and just kind of dissecting it, taking it apart, putting your own thoughts and opinions into it, trying to just get to the core of it and establish what it really means. So as I mentioned before in a past video, that when we study Buddhism, it's important to stick to the first noble truth for a month, the second noble truth for another month, and third truth for the third month, etc., etc. So when we're contemplating the first noble truth, that life is suffering, we dissect it. We ask ourselves, what is suffering? Why am I suffering? Why is the world suffering? What does suffering really mean? What is causing my suffering? You just dissect it and you dig deeper and deeper and you research this very simple question and kind of just find a realization on your own. And it's that contemplation that really helps us progress in our practice and in our studies, because if we don't completely understand something and we try and move forward, it's going to be very difficult or even impossible to really do anything and advance, because we don't even have a strong enough understanding of the basics before we can move on to anything harder. So we contemplate and we work on contemplation, and almost if we're not meditating for contemplation, then we're meditating to advance, or I guess better, our concentrations. So Buddhist meditation is almost strictly those two things: concentration and contemplation. And if you're not doing one of those two things, and it's not related to Buddhism, then it's probably not a Buddhist meditation. I know transcendental meditation may sound Buddhist-y to some because it's just meditation, and for some reason most people, when they think of meditation, they automatically think Buddhism, but that's really not the case. So we really have to understand for ourselves what what meditation means and why we're using it and what we want to get out of it. Because if we're not doing meditation to advance in our concentration, to heighten our concentration, to prolong our concentration, and we're not using it to contemplate on teachings and ideas, then there's really no point of meditation. And there's no point of your meditation in Buddhism if you're not doing one of those two things. And another word for contemplation in Sanskrit, as I mentioned, is vipassana. Vipassana literally means insight, and that's what we get from contemplation. We receive insight into these teachings, into these ideas. So the more we concentrate on what we're contemplating on, for instance, the First Noble Truth, the better we have an understanding and insight into what it really means to suffer. And the whole reason we contemplate on things, on a teaching or a perspective, is to alter our basic understanding, our basic mental understanding of those teachings, or our basic mental orientation of those teachings. So again, concentration in meditation, in Buddhist meditation specifically, it's all about coming to this point where we're only able to concentrate on one thing, one-pointedness concentration. So we really just want to, whatever it is, whether it be an object, an image, a rock, or anything else, it doesn't really matter. So we want to be able to concentrate on that one thing, that one pointedness, and only on that one thing for the whole duration of our meditation. And it really helps and we do that because we don't want external distractions to distract us. So the better, the longer, and the more, diligent we are with our practice, the more harder we are on ourselves to want to meditate, to want to concentrate, to want to keep distractions out, the better our meditation will be. And of course, this is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen with 1, 2, or 3 sessions. It'll happen, it could take months or years just to have 1 minute of thoughtlessness, or 1 minute of no distracting thoughts when we're contemplating, or when we're concentrating on something. So it's not as easy as it sounds, because our minds are moving, 1,000 miles an hour, and to just stop that or to slow that down is almost impossible. But we practice so we can at least try to slow it down. Whether we slow it down by 1 mile an hour or half a mile per hour, we are still developing that concentration, and we're still progressing and advancing in our meditation. It may take time, but trust me, in the end, it'll be completely worth it. When I first started meditating, 10 minutes seemed like the longest time ever. Like, I was like, okay, is my phone ringing yet? Is the alarm going off for 10 minutes yet? Because it was just almost unbearable. But today, I meditate for almost an hour, and so when my alarm goes off, it's like, okay, it's been an hour. I'm just like, oh no, 10 more minutes. So it really helps. It's really the best way to learn Buddhist teachings, and to really discover the truth for ourselves. Because if we just take everything in and not really contemplate for our own, or make our own perspectives, make our own judgments on them, then we're just taking everything by word and we're putting faith into empty words because we're just assuming it's correct. It might not be correct. Not everything that we learn is correct, obviously. So we meditate on those teachings because we have to figure out on our own, is this right, is this wrong? Is it moral, amoral, immoral, or is it just completely useless, or is it useful? So that's really why we use meditation, is to look within ourselves and find out the answers for ourselves, because no one can help you become enlightened except for yourself. We have the Buddhist teachings and he helps us get to that point, but Buddha himself cannot make you enlightened. You have to make yourself enlightened. And in order to do that, we have to contemplate in these teachings. We have to look within and take the things that we use externally and put them kind of in this little box in our mind and meditate on it and find the answers for ourselves. And that's basically your meditation. It's not that difficult, it's not that hard. Okay, it's a little difficult, but it's not impossible. It'll take lots of time, it'll take lots of effort and diligence and patience, but in the end, it'll be completely worth it. So don't be scared of meditation. I know a lot of people do it for a few times and just say nothing's happening, nothing's working. Well, something is working. It may not be what you think it will become. If you put an idea of what to expect from meditation, if you try to put a finish line in meditation, the meditation will never work for you. That's not how meditation works. There's no end point, there's no finish line, there's no expectation. Do not expect anything from meditation. What you're trying to do is develop yourself and develop your mind and heighten your senses and clear your mind. It's not trying to attain something per se. You're trying to eradicate negative thoughts and opinions and eradicate wandering thoughts and distracting thoughts. That's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to gain anything. You're trying to lose the things that cause you to suffer. So just remember that, because that's basically that's why we meditate in Buddhism. And then also there are several ways to meditate. There's no one particular form. When I say form, I mean basically your positions. There's no right or wrong position to meditate. Depending on your school or tradition, like for instance Zen is very disciplined. When you go into Zen meditation, you have to be cross-legged. You have to have your hand in a certain gesture in a certain spot. So, and if we're not practicing Zen, then the kind of options to meditate are unlimited, basically. If you want to meditate sitting down on a chair, on the floor, lying down, on your side, on your head, upside down, sideways, whatever position you want to be in, it's okay to meditate in. Because meditation is not taming the body. It is not yoga. We meditate to tame our mind. So it doesn't matter what position you're in, as long as you're comfortable enough where you're not going to get aches and pains bothering you and distracting you from your meditation. So for me, for example, I meditate with a half lotus. So I have one foot on my thigh and the other foot underneath my knee or leg. I don't know how to explain it without showing it, but that's the most comfortable position for me. But it can be different for everybody. So whether you want to cross your legs at all, traditionally cross-legging, or lotus cross-legged, or a half lotus, or just keep your legs wide open, just laying down, it doesn't really matter. You're there to be comfortable and to be in a position where you are comfortable enough to concentrate and tame your mind. So that is meditation. So if you have any questions or comments or whatever it may be, I'm probably missing a few things. So I will count this as an introduction to meditation. Then I'll probably add more videos for more specific details on meditation, probably, techniques or things to meditate on or whatever. I'll think of something. But just think of this video as an introduction. By no means is it complete. I'm sure it's lacking a few vital information. So I'll make more videos as I think of what I'm missing or remember what I'm missing about. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments, or just send me an email or whatever you want to do, and I'll try to answer you as soon as I can. That is all for today and this week for my videos. So I will see everyone next week or sometime in the middle of the week when I do my question and answer video. So look for that. Namo Sakyamuni Buddha. Smile and be well. Today I wanted to answer the very basic, fundamental, but kind of complex question of what is Buddhism? As simple as that question sounds, the